know that coach that turns every dinner conversation into a discovery session?
We were talking about appetizers. Suddenly they're unpacking your limiting beliefs.
I'm just holding space.
No, you're holding up the meal.
Coach, please. And welcome to Mindful Coaching Excellence Institute. We like to call it MCXI, and we are here today. I'm Montsalit.
And I'm Dan, the co
And
founders of MCXI. Yes.
yeah. And today we are having a conversation about the annoying coach who stays in professional mode all the time. So, Dan,
Oh, God.
do you
Oh,
know
God.
these coaches where, and I guess my conversation today with you is how do you find the balance of being your personal self and you being a professional coach? Because if you remember in the last episode, because I wasn't in a professional mode, I had an awkward encounter with somebody asking me about coaching. But then when I look at the other side, I have people in my life who are amazing coaches, but they never turn off the coach mode. So when I'm having a casual conversation with them at dinner or through text, they come back with these amazing coaching questions, but I don't want to be coached. I'm just having a conversation. What's coming to mind for you? I see your face. I see something percolating up there.
Tell me more about that. But in all seriousness, full transparency, I have both been that guy and I've been subjected to that guy. So I have to accept that I have shown up that way in the past without intending to. And I think on some level, it's an easy thing for us in this industry to do because it does become a bit habitual. But we don't want to, particularly when the person isn't open to it. We haven't gotten permission to coach them. There's one in particular I think of. I was in a conversation with someone, it was a few years back, and I made a statement about something. And we were not in a coaching conversation. We were just having a conversation. And they came back at me with a very forward energy. I wouldn't even put assertive on it. I was just very forward in my space energy, challenging what they heard as a lack or imposter mindset that was the reason behind my decision. And I immediately shut down. It's like, I didn't ask you for that insight. That is not what we're talking about here today. And I'm done with this conversation. It was like, we still had a little bit of time in our overall time together, but it killed rapport immediately. Yet we see it go on around us all the time with individuals who they want to embody and show value so much, they're actually imposing on other people.
Yeah, it made me think, your conversation made me think that the opportunity should have been the other person saying, hey, Dan, are you looking for a moment of coaching? I have a great question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So inviting them to it if you're ready to put the coaching hat on. But even in text, I'll just be having a normal conversation through text chain and then out of nowhere, like left field, I get this coaching question after we've been texting back and forth for just completely non-important things. And it's like, wait, where did that just come from? Like, that's so inappropriate. And so I guess my struggle is, where is this fine line? Not necessarily of, I totally get the piece of, hey, I see a coaching moment here. Do you want me to put my coaching hat on? Are you asking me this question because you want me to coach, or you just want me to listen? Like, I understand that piece, but the piece of when you're showing up to activities and functions that are um, opportunities, but you want to be personal. Are you always looking for these opportunities? No, because you also have to be a personal individual, right? So how do you not be this constant pro coach without ever turning it off? But how do you also if you keep it off, you might lose an opportunity, right? So it's like, where is the in between?
Off the top of my head, the in between comes in one being in a bit of curiosity, but not the curiosity that I would throw back as a question of like, what are your to dos this week? It would be more, what don't I know? What can I learn?
Mhm.
And how can I leverage that if I'm in a social setting or a networking setting, taking what I don't know to not go into a coach mode, but instead go into an invitation where I can be.
And curious, being curious.
Mm-hmm.
I think so many coaches, try to find ways, right? How do I become a better listener as a coach? And then let me use all these personal opportunities like family at the dinner table or a holiday party with the family that I'm going to show up and be this coach. When maybe what I'm hearing you say is bring the coaching concept but in a curiosity way. Go to these events as yourself, but use the tools you've learned not to try to give them these aha moment questions, but to just really be a listener and be curious as to what's happening.
Yeah, because if you hand out, think of the metaphor that I want here, because one's floating in my head. If you're at that party or that event and you're walking around essentially handing out coaching hors d'oeuvres, they're going to walk away feeling full and they're never going to call you again. But if you invite them to experience the full 7-course meal of what it is like to be in your presence as you fully embody the coaching, that's where the change happens. You show them you're curious, show them you want to be of value, and invite them to a conversation where you can show up versus doing these little things that I don't want to say they don't provide value because sometimes they do, but
But they're more
they're
like
not
band-aids,
providing.
right? I feel
Yeah,
like it's more
very
like a
much so.
band-aid over an actual cure. And then that leads me to, so, the coach at the family function. Oh gosh,
Oh, God.
here comes Coach Peggy, our aunt, who, she's going to tell us what we need to hear. What does that look like when you are a coach and you're wanting to show up for your friends and your family, and you're not the annoying professional coach who can't turn it off? What does that look like?
It goes one, since we never coach family and friends, there's that borderline. And it's a funny thing. People always, even before I ever came into these fields, I had a really analytical way of approaching conversations, even in my 20s. And people used to say to me, I feel like you're psychoanalyzing me. It's just something about who I am and how I operated, past tense, operated. Um, and when that's the thing that's being perceived by everybody else, the best thing you can do is not do it. And what I wrote on LinkedIn about a year ago was a tool to improve listening, and I made up my own, which is the STFU and L method. Shut up and listen. You're not gonna gain any knowledge when you're telling. You're not going to gain any knowledge when you are presenting and offering. And they're probably not going to receive it if you're offering it as unsolicited advice. So no matter what situation, particularly when you're with friends and family, STFU and L.
I love that. So for those people that don't know, we have a flagship program, Dan and I, with our school, and it's called From Mystery to Mastery, the practical insights of the 8 core competencies. And it is a continuing education course. You do get continuing education credits. And as I'm thinking about our flagship program and the core competencies, what would be one core comp that would come up for you in what a coach should be thinking about when they show up to hang out with friends and family, and they want to be in their coach mode? They want to try to continue flexing into that piece of that side of themselves. What would be a core comp that would come up for you that could be helpful for them?
There's two. The first one is maintains an ethical practice. Don't do it. Not don't maintain the ethical practice. Maintain the ethical practice. Know where the boundaries of it are.
Okay.
So
So know your
seek
boundaries.
help from outside necessary. Seek help from outside resources when necessary. The
Uh-huh.
other one is number 2, maintaining a coaching mindset. If you have not been engaged to be a coach, don't do it. Don't offer unsolicited advice. We don't offer advice.
Right.
Be a coach is something you do. It's an activity. It's a skill. On some level, it is part of who you are as a being, but it's a part of who you are. The whole you is much bigger than that, and there's times to just go be a human being. There's times to be a friend. There's times to be a family member. There's times to be all of it. Being the coach is a small portion of who you are. Don't put it out in front that everybody sees you and wants to go running the other direction because here comes Coach Dan. Be the human
Thank you
being
for that.
first.
Yeah, that's so good. So on that note, I think that we are done with this great conversation, and we hope
Oh,
to see
this,
you in the next episode.
there'll be more to come. See y'all later.
Yeah, bye-bye.